We're back on Soul Sisters. I'm Yama Brown,
I'm Heather Hayes.
and we have a very special guest with us this evening. Now, I
Hello.
know is it Victorie or
Yeah,
Victorie?
victory. Like you
Victorie.
won.
I love
Yeah.
that. I
Thank
love that. Welcome.
thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I actually saw your story um, online, and I just think it's interesting because it's a small community of us who come from legends like that, and a lot of the stories are kind of the same as it pertains to the family and some of the things that you're going on. But one of the questions I wanted to start with was, what is your fondest memory of your grandmother?
There's so many that come to mind because she actually stayed like 5 to 10 minutes away from my house. So like once a week we would just call her like, we're gonna come over today, and we would go over. And like walking into her house, it was like almost like a treasure hunt. Like she had so many just interesting things. And the thing that appealed to me most was just like her clothes and her makeup and stuff. And so like I would go upstairs to this room that she had, and there would just be like all her gowns, and there would just be like I just loved seeing that. And like now growing up, I could see that like influenced my fashion taste and what I like to wear and things like that. But I think my like favorite thing was every summer she would take my family to New York with her. And so she would rent out like tour buses because she didn't like flying. And we would drive down to New York. And sometimes we would stay in the city, but I liked it when we would stay in the Hamptons because she would like rent like a nice house out, and it would be really intimate, and we would just like be cooking together and talking, and she would just tell us all these stories and things. So that would definitely be like my favorite memory.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this because I don't think we said, or like we've been posting it and stuff like that. But let me say this to our listeners. Victorie is the granddaughter of the legendary Aretha Franklin, hence why we've been playing Aretha Franklin all night. So some people have some context as to why I asked you that question and some of the things that I said prior to. Yama, do you have something to ask her?
Oh, first of all, I heard that you have a voice. Now, I gotta say, I wasn't following you on Instagram or anything like that, but when I did, because you were gonna come on here, I was like, wait a minute, she sing too. So
I
you
do a
got
little
more
song.
fashion from grandma.
Oh wait, what was that last part? Sorry.
I said you got more than fashion from grandma.
Oh yeah, definitely. Try to do a little some.
Did
Yeah.
she ever
So
encourage you?
go ahead, Heather.
Did she encourage you with your music and your singing?
Definitely. She never like pressured us to like do music or anything, but I think just like being like going to her concerts, because we were at like every concert and things like that, and she would do like personal lessons with us. So I feel like just being in that environment naturally it makes you want to step into that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you had personal lessons. So I'm a singer as well, but the thought of a personal lesson with Aretha Franklin, I'm like, would have killed for that.
Yeah, it never really felt like a lesson though. Just be like, because she would have like Christmas parties, and so she would ask us like, "Do you guys want to perform at the Christmas party?" And then like beforehand, yeah, like beforehand, she would be like, "You have to have like a little lesson." So we come into her house, and she would ask us to just like sing for her and give us like little tips on how to make it better and stuff.
That's
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so awesome.
good. The ultimate showman, making sure everything is together.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I did. Heather, did you want to ask anything else personal? Because I did want to dive into the.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that you're a better person because you've had this same kind of issue. So I think that that's a great conversation to start with.
Well, it's
Question.
interesting because I didn't. I I was conflicted about whether or not I was going to watch it because I knew initially that that was the whole point, that you guys didn't want people to support it. And so I did watch it. I was slow to watch it, but I did watch it for context because I knew that there were some things that you guys didn't like. What I did find was very interesting is one of the producers is also our estate manager.
Oh, wow.
So I know him very intimately, and I remember him talking about this several years ago that he was working on this. But of course, I wouldn't know that you guys were involved or not involved, you know. So my first question for you is, did you know about this project initially? Did anybody ever even tell you guys that they were considering working on this project?
Um, so the family at first we didn't know because the estate was being ran by my cousin Sabrina Owens, and
Okay.
so we figured that that's who they initially talked to. And after she was removed from the estate, we heard about it and we're really excited about it because that's a tremendous honor. Like the first two series were on Picasso and Einstein, so for the third one to be on my grandmother's, like that's super special. So when we reached out
Absolutely.
and we like asked them if like we could be a part of it and things, it was really disappointing to hear that they weren't really interested in working with us.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Did they give an answer as to why?
I guess they basically just said that they didn't really need our input, that the production was already started and that I guess they didn't really need our input. So
So when
that was
did you
interesting.
find out about it? Was it it had already been written, or like what
Yeah.
stage was it when you guys learned about it?
Um, the production had already been started. It was already shot and filmed and things, but like they wouldn't even give us the opportunity to, like watch it, give like feedback on what we thought. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they usually won't let you. I know when they did the film on Dad, I mean, we didn't see it until it was about to come out, you know, until before it was, I mean, we saw before everybody else, of course, but it wasn't like we saw the producer's cut and then we saw the director's cut. Like it wasn't like that. They, you
Yeah.
know, we got a chance to be there with the producer and director, but also they did consult with us. That's why I asked you, because they weren't going to though.
Yeah. I
We
don't
had
know.
I had to force my way into that situation and just kind of say that we're going to be a part of it some kind of way. So we were able to do that, but they were also willing, and which is very interesting because it's the same people that produce your grandmother's this particular project, because I think it's Imagine Entertainment was one of the producers, Brian Grazier, and they did Dad's film as well. um I'm not surprised. I think it's very unfortunate that you guys couldn't be involved more. What part of the film, because you know your grandmother so intimately, or this series, which, like you said, is a tremendous honor? Because when I was like, who are the other people? And I was like, I started Picasso. I was like, oh,
No, yeah.
okay, okay. Okay. What part of it did you think wasn't correct, or were there any parts where you thought weren't true?
Well, I was reading like a vlog about it because I actually didn't really watch it, but just like I read a vlog about it and talked to a few family friends. And the part that I didn't like the most was the way that they depicted my great grandfather. Um, like my grandma, she did a really good job at like educating us on our history, our family history. And I feel like he was a very important part to not only the Black community, but just like American history in general. And I feel
Mhm,
like instead of like highlighting that more so, it was more so focused on like gossip. And that's kind of what I didn't really like about it.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
I can
I mean,
understand
they're
that.
trying to, they're trying to sell a movie. So essentially, you know, that's basically what they do. I'm trying to understand because we haven't had that as far as my family is, um, concerned. We haven't had that issue as of yet. We're planning to do something on our own. Um, I don't. I wish we had a some kind of attorney here because I don't understand the legality of just being able to just tell a story about a person without any family input. That is absolutely crazy to me.
Or you
I
can do
don't
that.
really.
She's a public figure. You
But
don't
I'm
need.
just saying, what is the legal? I mean, what is the legal
But like
ramifications
she
of that? Like,
said,
how,
it may have been done with the other, with her cousin that was the estate, or the trustee for the estate. So it could have been signed off on. They just may have not had any input. And that comes from how that deal is structured.
Yeah. legally they're in like the right, like they didn't break any laws or anything. It's just our standpoint is we want to honor my grandma's legacy because she worked really hard to build what she left for us, and we just want to honor that and make sure that everything that's being put out is reflecting that in an honest, true way.
Right.
Yes,
Do you
for
guys have
sure.
any input on the film that Jennifer Hudson is starring in?
We were actually in the same kind of boat where the deal was signed off by my cousin, and so they were more willing to work with us though, so that's why we're a little bit more like optimistic about the film because they're working with us and they're, like being more nice about it and stuff. So we're pretty optimistic about it.
That's good.
That's,
That's
I
good.
mean, that's good. Because I,
Did,
one,
let me ask you one other thing. Did Jennifer Hudson ever reach out to any of you guys to get information about your grandmother? I know she's, you know, your grandmother picked her specifically, so, but like just more in-depth information.
That's actually a really good. I would have to ask my dad about that just because.
I was
Yeah.
just wondering because Chad reached out to us, but also he didn't have the ability to meet my dad, so it was a little bit different. But
Mhm.
I was just wondering.
yeah. I guess one of the questions that I thought, I understand that we never know when things are signed off on and when production starts. I just felt like because it was apparent that your grandmother was very specific about and had, whether she had specific input on the movie with Jennifer Hudson, she was well aware of it. This is who she wanted to play her. So there was a little bit more connection to her. And my question was then, why would you put out another film when this one is going to be coming out soon? I didn't understand that. I didn't understand, why that choice, I guess, was made, especially in such close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
Well, is it the same producers?
I believe it's different. It's different producers. But I don't know either. I feel like, and if you are gonna do something like that big, why not try to get the best quality? Why not try to talk to the people closest so that everything is accurate and you can, put out a good series?
Yes,
Totally feel you.
because I
Totally
think
get
that there's a lot of, I think, because we've had some, we've read books and stories, and it's very difficult when you get into that because everybody has a different story,
Hmm.
and so for our family, we've kind of been like, especially telling my mother, write stuff down, like, because we want to know the truth. We want it to be, you know what I mean? Because when we did Unsung, you wouldn't believe, but some people will get on camera and simply not tell the truth. And I think the difference with that is that we had enough control where we were like, that's not, take that out. That's not accurate. You know what I'm saying? That's not true. And I think so often when, like you guys had inputs that you sat and you were able to, watch, and they respected the family.
Well, we had input on the script, which
Well,
has a lot to do with
yeah.
it. We were consulted because, especially my mom, actually, because she was the one that was married to him. So Tate was really like asking her a lot of questions and, had some scenes in there and things that she recommended they take out, and they did. So it really started from there, which is very important. And I say that because it wasn't the people that wrote the script. It was the director. It was Tate, because, they do rewrites all the time. And so he kind of, was doing his own rewrite. And that's when he was like, no, I want to meet the family. And Chad was like, of course I want to meet the family. I'm from South Carolina. Like, I want to go to his house. I want to meet his daughters. I want to like, that was just that. But we were involved early on. And that's all I'm saying is that I still feel like no matter how it was done, they still should have given you guys an olive branch, because there's some things that they probably would have learned that they would have never gotten, and they could have inserted in. It just, it's just nice to be able to have that. But it's also too, you don't know when it was signed off on, Heather, like I said, and sometimes people make deals.
I guess it's because I think, ultimately, you and I, Yama, we've talked about this in Victorie. I just feel like, how do you feel about the way that, which is our, grandparents and parents are being treated as it pertains to their legacy? Because I think it's very important to protect the legacy. And we see so often that a lot of times these things are just not done, and not done in a fashion that is really fair to the amount of work that these people, that these legends, put into their careers. So what do you think about protecting that legacy, especially as it pertains to African American people?
I think that it's just really important. Like, I feel like when you have people like as big as our family members, people forget that they're human too, and that to them it's like a superstar, but to us it's someone that was very close to us, and so we feel like a personal connection with everything that comes out. And so I just feel like it's so important that you respect the people that it affects the most, because the series comes out, you watch it, and from that moment, it doesn't really affect you anymore. But we have to live with that. Like, we have to live with everything that comes after it. And so I just think it's important that you're honoring how it makes the people that it affects the most feel.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely
For,
agree.
we need to get together and do something like a documentary. It's a bunch of us that are like, like, I don't really like that. We could tell some good stories probably.
No,
But before we get out of here, Victorie, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and hopefully our listeners and our viewers will really have a better understanding of how important that is, because my brother always says, like, white people take care of their legacies. They cherish them, they put them on the covers of magazines, they do all different things. And I just think that we need to make sure that we do that for our legends, in our communities. But since I know that you are in entertainment and you're a singer, what is next for Victorie?
I actually have a single coming out next week. It'll be my first song coming out, so look out for that. And I also am working on a small 5-song EP where I'm recreating 5 different artists and just making the songs that I chose like more new and modern. So that'll be coming out soon too. And yeah, just trying to get music out there and get my name out there so people know who I am.
Well, it's so awesome. Last question though, since you have an EP coming out, I know you explained the EP. Who else inspired you as a musician other than your grandmother?
That's a good question. I really like a lot of like old school, so like Stevie Wonder, Erykah Badu, new age. I like SZA a lot. I like her songwriting. I really appreciate Frank Ocean. I just like artists that tell a story with their music, and they take you to like a place where you can really feel what they were going through.
Do you play any instruments?
I'm studying right now at Howard, so I'm learning piano in my major. So by the time I graduate, I hope that I can do a little something on there.
Behind a piano like your grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Play and sing. Okay, so before we get out of here, of course, what's the name of the single?
It's called Red Lights.
Red Lights. So tell everybody where they can find you on social media and where they can purchase your new single.
The single will be on all streaming platforms, and my Instagram is Victorie, Victorie, 2 underscores. My Twitter is Victorie, 5 underscores, and those are the social medias that I use the most. So yeah.
All right.
Well, we finished actually like a couple minutes early, but we're going to go out with actually my new single, which is a duet. And Victorie, actually, while I'm thinking about it, you should send it to us because we can put it in rotation on our station.
Definitely.
We would love to do that. Support definitely up and coming artists and stuff like that. So make sure you email it to our producer, and we would love to put it in a regular rotation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you for all the information. It's very, hopefully we can double back and do something outside of this. But right now we're going to go out with my new single. It's a duet called Over You. It's myself, Heather Hayes, featuring Chase Stephen, and we'll be right back.
Bye, Victorie.
Thank you for having me so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great one.
Right, you too.
Bye.